Good evening, everybody. This is Dianna Bowes from Fabulous at 50. Thank you for joining us tonight. We're doing a nice talk with Jo Dibblee about volunteer tourism. And Jo has been a friend of mine for quite a long time. We met when she was running around the province of Alberta, running eWomen, and we've become fast friends over many different things, and now this whole concept around volunteer tourism. So those of you who have met Jo before, she's a vibrant lady, and she's like the Pied Piper, which is what she's doing down in the Baja. But she's also the founder and the CEO of Frock Off Incorporated. And like her core value is really around humanity and building community. And I've seen it over and over. She's reinvented herself so many times. And she's a speaker and a wonderful writer. It's got several books that have won top awards around North America. If I'm not right, you can correct me on that. Mm-hmm. And also is the curator of a new thing that she's been doing with volunteers in the Baja. So this whole idea of volunteer tourism is quite new. Mm-hmm. I mean, people have been doing it for years, but now it's become a term which we never mm-hmm. really had before. So why do you think now? Why do you think it's become a bigger topic now?
Well, first, thank you. Thank you for the opportunity to share. I'm super excited. And, we are fast friends and so much has happened since we met. It's quite amazing to be on the shared journey with you. So thank you so much for having me. I think that the reason that there's been a shift and now it's sort of more open and available for people to participate. It starts back when you think back to people saying, I'm going on a mission with my church. And so that's really where voluntourism really kind of started. It was, there was an organized mission. You'd go to a specific country and maybe you'd build a school or what have you, go to a village, whatever it was that needed to be done. And it was very organized through that particular church, for example. Mm-hmm. And they did great work, but it wasn't so much travel as in go and travel. It was how can you serve specifically through this? Yes, you did travel, but there was no adventure component to it because it was really mission driven. Right. And then as time went on, people got more involved. And if you think back to things like when the Red Cross put a call out saying, hey, we need help. So there was another opportunity for volunteers to get involved with going to a country, say, to rebuild a bridge or, again, do a school or whatever needed to be there. A dam maybe had been knocked out. Volunteers would be called to come out to different organizations. So it's not really new. What's new is the availability for the everyday person to get involved. There's some pitfalls around this, and serious ones actually, if you're not familiar with them. But voluntourism has become its own industry. And one of the reasons it's so readily available or also so liked is when you think about it, especially with the crowds that you and I both work with, people that are, 40 plus, they've done a lot of traveling already and they want to do something where they get to give back. But where? How do they start? Who do they trust? And are you going to go to, so for example, you might go to Kenya, but what are you going to do when you're in Kenya? What do you wear when you're there? How do you do this? Are you staying with a family? But you also might want to adventure, meaning you want to take in some of the culture, do some of the fun things while giving back. And there is a way to do that. So it's not that it's new, it's that we've added a component for the everyday person to be able to be involved with it, and also for the everyday person to know that there's someone. Think of me sort of like a concierge. Right. I help coordinate that, and you come and you get to, in my case, I'm using me as an example, where you get to come and you say, okay, I love working with animals, I love working with children, that kind of thing. You know that when you come, it's all taken care of. I take you there. You don't need to coordinate that, but you also get to play, because that's where I like to think of it as a volunteer adventure with heart that changes lives. It's really cool, actually, but it's not new by any means.
No, it certainly is. I mean, people have been doing it with, the habitat builds and
exactly.
Like you said, all the mission work, and I know lots of people who've done that. John actually did that. He went to the Philippines, worked on a great big ship that went around from harbor to harbor.
That's cool.
But he didn't see much of the Philippines. He was 2 weeks on that boat, and it was like,
and it's hard work. That's
really
hard work. That's not the same as a volunteer, where they're really creating, think of it, tour as in tourism.
Yeah.
And this volunteer component is allowing us to add our service work to our tourism component, right?
So for you, what has been your, how have you seen people getting involved? Like how are they reaching? Are they getting out on the internet, or where are most people getting their information from?
Well, there is information definitely on the internet about this, and that can be, you know, pros and cons with that, because you really need to do your due diligence. If you're going to another country and you don't understand the rules of engagement or what's involved, or, you know, things like insurance, and not to be negative Nelly here, but think about it. You're not in Canada. You're not in the US. Like when I use Canada and the US have pretty high standards for what is expected when you go to these other countries. And there are other places, like Australia is like that too, as well as the UK. But what I'm suggesting is there is information out there, but what people don't tend to understand, and you just touched on this so well, Dianna, he went to the Philippines. He didn't get to see the Philippines.
No, he didn't.
But he got to see the boat. He got to see the boat a whole lot, right? And this is a common problem. People they have wonderful intentions. They go with good hearts, with full hearts. They want to do good, but they'd also like to play a little bit. And they're kind of under the impression they're going to get to go and they're going to sleep in a comfy bed. And I don't know if John got to sleep in a comfy bed, but
the food was pretty good, though, he said.
Okay, so we had good food. That's awesome. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with the mission-driven events. That's not what I'm saying. But it's really important to talk about this because it's based on our expectations. If we want to travel, but we also want to serve. That's how I look at it.
Well, yeah, and you know, especially like if you're going to someplace you haven't been before, I mean, you don't know what you don't know. I mean, you don't know. There could be, you know, all kinds of kind of like unspoken kind of rules that are just so normal there that you wouldn't know. Like when I was with you and we went to the colonies, and the lady that picked up the puppy, remember the little puppy that I was just like, and she said, we can't take it if it has a collar, and we have to make sure that we find the owner and ask for permission, or we can get in huge trouble. And for me, I just pick up the puppy and take it, you know, because I mean, they're all over the place. But that's the type of thing I think that, you know, it's really necessary to learn, because you could really cause more damage than good.
And actually, that's an extremely important point, because first of all, just on that point alone, if you had picked up that puppy and had a collar and she had called the police, you would have been arrested.
I know.
And arrested in another country is not pleasant.
No.
Okay, so let's just say that it's not pleasant. That's not something you want. And you had the best of intentions but this is not a good situation. So not understanding the culture is one very big problem, which is why I say to people, it's all well and good to go to another country, but if you don't have somebody that has boots on the ground there, they don't really understand the culture.
No.
So how are you going to do that and know that you're actually following the laws of the land, right?
And you know, even that, in saying that, I mean, I know you and I know what your values are, and I could go. I mean, you definitely got to do your due diligence if you're going on one of these tours, because you don't fully, I mean, these people may be not, you know, 100% transparent, and there might be something totally different going on than what you expect. So I think it is really important. I know there's so many great organizations out there that's what they do, is they run, that's their full-time thing, is they'll run different tours, and you know, they know all the ins and outs, and you know, they know the proper way to do things, and they have the right intentions. But I you know, I would caution people, and I'm sure you would, to make sure that, you know, you
even when I do it, when I go to another country, I always want to give back, but I'm very careful of how I do it, because I don't want to step on anyone's toes, but more importantly, I want to follow the laws of the land. I don't want to insult the culture, because just because our ways are this does not mean that's their ways, right?
No.
But you know, I was interested. What did you feel when you first drove into the colonies? Because you were with us. I'm just curious. What was your initial?
There was a little bit of fear, because, you were kind of giving us the, this may be more than what you expect, and or less, or different, or this isn't just like a small town. So I was a little bit fearful, especially as we drove past kind of those cars that were just deserted, and we're on a sand road, and I was shocked, shocked. And at the same time, once we kind of got moving and everything, I was so touched by the way the women were with each other. And even though many of them didn't speak any English, they were so kind and grateful. Like, there was just like, thank you, thank you. I mean, that's probably the only word that they knew.
Yeah.
And even when, they're standing in line, and it was, there's boxes everywhere, and there was a lot of people. I just expected there to be more grabbing, and there was none of that. It was just like, oh, I have one of these. Do you want this? Or I'd hold something up, and she'd look, one of the girls would look, and she'd take one, and we'd hand one to the other. But at no point was anybody grabbing. And yet they have so little. I mean, that would not happen anywhere else.
No.
Think of Black Friday in the States. I was expecting it to be chaos.
And I think that's such an important point. I got goosebumps when you were talking, because there's such graciousness in that poverty. That poverty is like, we do not understand. Like, we understand poverty in our eyes, okay? We have North American eyes. And yes, I know that Mexico is part of North America, but Canada and the US have a different sense of lifestyle. We have a different lifestyle. Yes. And even in our poorest of poor, we do not have what that is. We do not go through that. And I mean, you and I both didn't come from a silver spoon. However, we have social programs here. So it's very different. And when you drive in there, it does look like it's war torn. And yet only 7 blocks out is this beautiful scenic, right? Like, you come from this resort. Like a Walmart, basically. And and store there, and and it was kind of like, it was just so weird, because we were staying quite a nice place. We're driving up just like we were going to Walmart here in Edmonton, or to Costco, and then you drive like 5 minutes down the road, and there's these families, well, mostly women and children, living in, worse than a shack, like worse than in some cases. Well, some don't even have that. Some of them are living in like a lean-to off of somebody else's shack.
But what I did notice, and was the cleanliness of the children. They were all clean, their little hair brushed.
Yeah.
There was no like sometimes I go to places and the babies are crying and there's upset. None of the babies, people were holding other people's babies.
Yeah.
While they went and got stuff. And then when we drove back to pick up the puppy, I noticed that everything was swept in front of her makeshift fence, and she had flowers planted.
Yeah.
And I just thought, you don't have, just because you're poor doesn't mean you have to be dirty. And this is the thing with these people, is they were all very clean. Their kids were clean. They did the best with what they had. And I think
it's so true, hon. And the other thing, half the time the water doesn't work there. So they get by with, it's just amazing what they do. That's why I'm so committed to the whole Team Humanities Baja. Like, that's why we created that Facebook group, because when people started to see, and when we put that on, when you see those pictures on Team Humanity and that one woman with her little one, it's like any other mom would be with their little one. They're just like, this is my little person, and aren't they beautiful? And it just reminded me of every mom that I've ever met. This is my little person, and aren't they beautiful?
It was hard to kind of keep it together there for a while.
Oh, of course. We all cried. We all cried because,
it was like, oh my God, they come, in their little packs, and they were also polite. And,
Yes.
you know, they're holding their kids.
Gracias, 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 right?
So sweet and kind. And then when everything was done, you know, they were kind of putting stuff, you know, if asking if we had boxes and doing their best to try to carry what they could. And there was no like annoyance or, you know, so much of what we get here, you know, if you step in line in front of somebody here, oh my gosh, I mean, you know, it's not always the gracious, you know, I'm sorry, I'm in your way. I just really felt, I learned a lot. And because I was really watching the people, and when I've done a lot of volunteer stuff here in Edmonton, and I've never ever had that type of feeling because I've never seen that, you know, to that. I've seen poverty, but I've never been in the middle of it and trying to help with something the same way.
Yeah.
So I mean, I kind of know myself how it all started, but can you kind of share your story about how you know, by going down to Mexico and staying there for the winters, how you and Michael kind of got involved? Like, how did the seed get planted?
Well, as you mentioned, like volunteering and giving back are just, that's a core value for me. And I'm just so grateful for our life, and not in the, like, not just woo woo here. I'm like, literally, I mean, you know me, this is who I am. I live this every day. And Michael had retired and he wanted to be there more often. And I said, well, I have to find something to do. Like, this is my thing, because I have to keep my mind busy and I just have to be part of something like giving back. And anyway, I'd been involved. I'd met somebody through the orphanage, and I wanted to get engaged with the orphanage. And anyway, I had an opportunity to be at an art festival, and these kids that I had been hearing about were going to be at the art festival. And so I thought, well, here's my chance. I'm going to go meet these kids. Now, in my mind, I did not prepare. It was kind of like when you came to colonies, okay? Now, I was at the art festival, so I wasn't even at the orphanage yet when I first met these kids. But something happened that forever changed my life. And that happens to all of us, right? We have those moments, that epiphany, or that, like, oh my gosh, I have to do something different. And so what happened is, I sat down on the ground with my dog, who you know, Mia, the crazy Mia Dibblee. She's a little service dog, and she loves kids. And so I sat down on the ground because I can't speak Spanish really, and I thought, well, this is a way for me to kind of see what the kids are like. And I sat down, and the littlest one, whose name is Samantha, at the time I didn't know this, she came up to me, and I had sunglasses on, and she put her hand out to touch. I thought to take my glasses off, because, you know, they reach for your glasses like, oh, like, those are cool, I'm going to put them on me. That's what most kids would do at that age. So I thought, okay, I was all prepared. You know, I'm leaning in. Here you go. Here's my glasses. And that's not what she did. What she did, she put her little hand on my cheek and she kissed me.
Oh, man.
And that was it. I was a mess, because I found out she hadn't really shown any affection or any kind of, like, hadn't really done anything and laughed, nothing. She'd been at the orphanage for 6 months, and her mother's and both of her parents are incarcerated. That's how they end up at the orphanage. Yes. And then the person that, Alma, who was taking care of them, who's kind of like the mom at the orphanage, said, you look like her mother. And I was just, Dianna, like, I couldn't even talk. I thought, I don't get to cry in front of her. So I told Alma to tell her I'd be right back, because I didn't want to cry, because I thought, I don't get to cry. This is not about me. It's about her. But I'll tell you, that little girl changed my life. She's 18 at the time. She was 18 months old, and she changed my life. And the colonies came later. But it was in that moment I knew we had to do something bigger, because here was this little girl who, through no fault of her own, had ended up in the orphanage. And so we got really engaged in the orphanage and in Cortez Rescue with the dogs. And the rest really became history. When I found out about the colonies and a woman dying because she couldn't take menstrual pads, that was it. I'm like, we're moving. And so we're moving to Mexico.
I know, but you guys say you're going to do something, man. My grandfather would say there's no moss growing under your feet.
Nope. No time. We just drove our stuff to San Diego and flew home, because we had to drop our first part of the, like the first part of the tour was dropping our belongings and all the donations. And we have a 20-foot cargo trailer that's just full of donations down in San Diego for our next piece, which will be in September when we drive down. But it's such a privilege to be able to do this, you know.
It's a beautiful place. Like, we've been there several times, and you know, most people go to Cabo, which is, you know, the party town.
Yes.
And, it was, when we drove down to see you guys and stayed there for a couple of days, it really changed. Like, we so much more enjoyed Los Faritas than what we did Cabo. And I like Cabo, and I love where we stayed, beautiful hotel. But the friendliness, just everything about it is just, I don't know, there's just a feeling there. There's just something really special, for sure. So I know you guys are gonna just do wonderful things there. So you've lived in a trailer. You were living on a trailer, fifth wheel on the beach.
Yes.
2 winters, right?
Yeah, the first winter we had 8 square feet of living area,
Right, it was a
and we
small-
were still taking in foster dogs. And now we live in what I call the Taj Mahal because it's 39 feet. But yeah, we're building a house though.
Yeah, and you've bought property, you're building a house, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's super exciting. So you are coming to Edmonton
See?
next week, and we're going to do a session all on this topic again, because running Fabulous at 50 over the last 11 years, what I have seen is what I've seen a lot of is women who are close to retirement and mostly working, because our generation, most of us worked, and they're getting to a point where they don't really, they don't have 10 years left of working. So they're starting to talk about what they're going to do, next year, 5 years, or whatever. And they always, always, always say, when I ask them, what are you going to do when you retire? And they always say, I'm going to volunteer and travel. Always. Always. Yeah. So I think this is the perfect opportunity for them to really understand what that means, because if you've never done that before, it is a different concept than just going on an all-inclusive to
Absolutely
Mazatlan. It's a very different thing. And I know that women of our generation, they're givers and they want to help. They want to make a difference. So that was why we decided to do this Ignite You.
Yeah.
Pack your bags, let's see what it's all about. And we're going to talk about this all again and talk about your upcoming retreat in February that I touched on a few times. I am super excited. I get to be involved in part of it. So other than just, being a guest of it. So tell us a little bit. I know you haven't, everything's not 100%, but kind of tell us what we're going to be doing.
Well, I'd like to showcase you a little bit about this, because
I'm wearing.
I know you won't, so I'm going to. Yes, thank you. Put it up close, because I only get to see this beautiful, beautiful, beautiful bracelet. This is going to be one of the pieces that we're going to be teaching. And when I say we, it's Dianna and the helpers will be teaching we're going to start at the orphanage and use the orphanage as our first place that we can bring this out to market, because one of the challenges for the orphanage is that they need to generate revenue. And when we talked a little earlier about the voluntourism, it's one thing to go and serve and you feel good and you go home, but we want to create sustainable change. So when I said to Dianna, what could we do that we could actually bring something to these children, to their lives, and then also take that to the colonies to teach these women if we can get these products donated. So here's my little ask. If you're coming to the event, I know Dianna's created a beautiful list of what we need for donations. I'm going to be so bold to say, please bring some of that, because we really need it. Whether you come to Mexico or not, we really need those donations to help make this possible. So I hope that's okay, Dianna.
No, that's fine. I'm going to put I'm going to be reaching out for donations as well, because I know a lot of people they have it in their houses.
Yeah.
And I'm touching base with some of the people who are cleaning, moving elders out of their homes.
Exactly.
Get all of that stuff, and they don't know what to do with it. So it ends up at Valley Village.
And we so need it, right? Because if we can bring the cost, like if the cost of goods is nil for these people, if we can bring this, then we can really make a difference. We're going to be teaching the bracelets, then the kids get to sell them. They're going to see we're going to teach them financial literacy at the same time as this is going on. They're also going to get a savings account. This is going to help put them through high school. This is real sustainable change. Without people like Dianna doing this, then all we would be doing is going and feeling good for the day. This is not what this is about, right? Like
I've been on those tours before, and it is feel good. You go and buy a bunch of clothes, you drop them off, you know, and it's all great. But that's what I love, the idea of teaching them, not just giving, but teaching them how to move forward in their own lives and take, because that to me is where will make the biggest difference, I think.
Well, can you imagine, like, this little person's going to be able to go out, because they make woodwork products right now, right? And it is actually working. They make beautiful pens. Like, you've seen their pens.
No, I couldn't believe it. Like,
right? And now if they sell these bracelets, it's going to help. Like, I just got a list of the new kids in school and what their school fees are. And so we, you know, I sent a whole bunch of money. I was able to raise some money for them. But we want to create something so we can give them a hand up instead of a hand out, and not making, like, just let's empower them. And that's what you're doing by offering your skill set. And it's so important. And
I love that idea. I think whether you live in Mexico or, you know, the wrong side of the tracks in Edmonton, I think the best thing you can do for people is to teach them how to, you know, do
the how-to is the biggest thing.
Yeah.
It's not about us feeling good for the day, because really then it's really not service, right? Service is when
it creates a culture, because then they never move out of it. It just keeps going down generation by generation.
Exactly.
So we teach these kids some business schools, and maybe not all of them, but maybe a select of them will actually go and change the lives of their entire families, not just that child, but when that child maybe has their own family, they won't have to be getting handouts. They can actually, you know, have little micro businesses or businesses and feel much better about themselves. Because you know, what I saw in those people's eyes, I saw gratitude, but I also saw, you know, a bit of shame.
Absolutely.
You know, I saw some shame from some of the women. You know, they were grateful, but they were like, oh, you know,
yeah,
here you come.
Wouldn't it be nice? Like, wouldn't it be amazing? We've actually had someone say they might be able to get us a school bus, and then we can retrofit that with a classroom. I'm so excited, Dianna. We have so many, but you're absolutely right. This, you know, when I come next week, and even what we're talking about right now, it's not just about whether we're in Mexico or whether we're in, it doesn't matter, Timbuktu.
Oh, no,
the
it doesn't.
bottom line is, it's not about a handout. It is about teaching people whatever our skill set is. Like, I was talking to a clothing store, a sewing store yesterday, and the guy said to me, hey, I've got a sewing machine I'd love to give to you. And I was like, what? I was just sharing with him. But this is the power of giving back, when we all come from that place of really giving in a way. So, you know, we need, on Team Humanity's Baja, there's a list of stuff that we are still needing. And yeah, anything we share, but that happens everywhere, right? We all can do this. And it's not about the rah-rah of us. It's about helping other people rise up. Yeah. Because I've been there. I've been not in that situation, but unfortunately close. And I know what it's like to feel that shame and feel that, and you know, it's tough. So if we can be the change that we wanted when we were that, and when I say we, I mean the royal we, clearly. I can say that for myself, for sure. Yeah. I can't imagine what that would have been like. But to empower these young kids, and then these women with the bracelets, let's just use that. How powerful is that when they only earn $5 a day at the all-inclusive? That's all they earn.
And you know, I know from being at the market, I know that they'll be able to get at least $20, $25 for these bracelets.
That's amazing.
And if everything's donated, you know, that, you know, you sell 4 bracelets that's $100.
Exactly. And imagine that. So we're going to be able to put money towards their schooling. They're going to have enough money for the orphanage to run. We're also going to give the kids like a selling, like a commission, so they can see what it's like. And that is going to make such a difference for those kids, because all they've done their whole life is just barely get by.
Mhm.
And then the women in the colonies are going to have choices, and there's so much going on. So I can't wait. It's so exciting. Like, it's like, you know, I mean, I'm so grateful. Everyone has stepped up when I've asked, every single person. Like, it's just
They're
been,
hard to say no to.
well, thank you. Thank you. It's a blessing. I don't know where that's coming from, but I'm going with it, right? My secret idol was Mother Teresa. It's nothing to do with the Catholic thing. It's to do with, I thought this tiny little woman goes to Calcutta. I think, well, she can go to Calcutta. I can get some stuff for Baja.
Well, you have the power of the Pied Piper for sure.
Thank you.
Definitely know how to, and it's the consistency. You do it. You say you're going to do it, and you follow through. And do you know every step of the way? You don't. You know, that's the thing, is that
No.
sometimes you just got to like take the step, and you know it may not be perfect. It may not, you know, always work exactly right, but the next time you do it better, and you learn from it. And not everybody has the courage to do that. It takes a lot of courage. Most people sit back and wait for the perfect situation, and you know, in those places, sometimes there is no perfect situation. It's you just got to kind of.
They're so gracious, and there's such a great need, and there's so many places where there's such a great need.
But you know, you can't do everything for everyone, but you know, if you can do something for someone,
yeah,
it doesn't always have to be in Mexico either. It could be right in the city.
No,
there's lots of things going on here too,
yeah,
and I'm sure everywhere. I mean, look at the island. I mean, there's lots of stuff on the island too. But I'm gonna wrap up. If people still want to join us on, it's on Tuesday, 13th here in Edmonton. If you want to go to my website, fabulousat50.com, under events, you can register. It's also on our Facebook page, Fabulous at 50. And if you want to find out anything about the retreat, I also have it on mine, but you can go to Jo's website, which is
Frock Off Live, FROCK off and then live.com. And can we just add that when we post this, hon? Can we just?
Oh yes, I will. I'll have links.
Put your information on there too.
Yeah, we'll have all the information. I'll be putting that up.
Because all the details are on. All the details are on the for the event are on there. Right. And I would love to answer any questions if anybody has them as well. If you want to send me a message, I'm happy to. But
and that retreat is February 20th to 26th.
That's correct. And you know, there's such, but like you said earlier too, this is just one way to get involved. There's so many things out there, but we'd love to have you. And my goodness, I can promise you this, it's life-changing. You can't walk away and you will be altered.
Well, we will have a lot of fun. I know that.
Yeah. Exactly.
And we'll make a difference. And I don't think anybody will come home the same. I think.
No, you can't because you're so, it's just, we all connect. And you know, like-minded people connect with each other. It's the relationships that develop as well, because we've had a shared experience that's so deep and rich that you can't help but go, oh my goodness.
And right? I know from, you know, doing Fabulous at 50, I know that's what most women are looking for.
Yeah.
They've got to a point in their lives where so much has changed and their kids are growing up, and now they're looking to reconnect with other women. And to make a difference. Many people are looking. They've worked really hard for a lot of years, and now the things they do, they want it to have a really you know, place in their heart that they're feel like they're making a difference. So I can't wait. I can hardly wait. I feel like I should like go out and just like, you know, check out the Baja again before February, but it's
anytime, honey.
It's not going to happen.
Well, you know what? I can't wait to see you on Tuesday, and let's share more, because
and also
that look on your face at the colonies when I looked back in the rearview mirror, because I thought I got to make sure she's okay, because I know what it's like. But I'm so grateful you were there, and the looks. I mean, we all cried that day. We cried because there was so much. It's humanity.
Well, I cried with gratitude and happiness as well, because you know, I just thought, man, you know, you can be poor, but you don't have to be mean. You don't have to be rude. You don't have to be anything. And I thought that to me, that was what really touched me, was just the connection between each other,
Yeah.
and then looking at us who don't live in that country, who are just visitors, and to be so, you know, happy and thankful to us, and with their few words, you know,
Mhm.
taking your hand and just, you know, the only words very few words I know was thank you. And, you know,
Yeah, it was
gracias,
amazing.
gracias, gracias. I don't know how many times I heard that. It was so cute. I wanted to pick up one of those puppies, one under one arm, and one of those little children, and run for the hills.
No, I
Man, the
know.
cuteness was,
Well, we got big things, honey, and I'm so grateful for you. So thank you.
thank you,
Thanks
Joe.
for
Thank you
sharing your
so much.
gifts.
Okay, well, we'll see you Tuesday. And if anybody wants to join us, please go to my website and I will put it on here so you can register. There's only a few seats left because we're not going to, you know, we're going to make sure we're comfortable. But we will be sending out information after that as well. So if you don't make it to that, we can still get information to you. So goodbye, Joel.
Mwah. Thank you,
See
thank you,
you
thank you,
soon.
and see you soon.